Welcome to the Empath Woman Awaken, the podcast that helps you uncover and realize your greatest potential. I'm your host and creator, Jennifer Lewis. After losing 82 pounds, I realized my greatest potential. Once insecure, afraid, and depressed, I now confidently embody my gifts, who I am, and what I feel called to do. I've built an international coaching practice and founded a federally recognized 501c3 nonprofit. I'm here to help you stop hiding and embody your greatest gifts so you too can unlock your greatest potential and achieve whatever it is you set your mind to achieve. This is Empath Woman Awaken. Hey there, friends. It's Jen here. I'm so excited, as per usual, to be here chatting with you. I'm actually doing things a little bit different today. It is actually the 4th of July here in the States. And I believe those of you that are in Canada, you just celebrated Canada Day a couple days. But by the time you listen to this, it will be closer to the weekend. So I'm hoping that I don't have any off-road vehicles go screaming by or some dogs barking or, the usual, but that's okay. I still wanted to get on here with you because I had something amazing happen yesterday and I got to share. So I'll get into that. But what I really want to talk to you guys today about is how do you discover your gifts? Not only how do you discover your gifts, this is probably going to be a 2-part series because really what I want you to do is stop hiding your gifts. I had an interview with a pretty amazing woman the other day. She's a medium, psychic, and I kept hearing her story, and I'm like, this is my story. And the woman before that was a soul healer. And I thought, oh my gosh, her story is much like my own. And then yesterday, client calls all day, and one particular client, same story. And so I thought, okay, we have got to chat about this, friends. We have got to talk about the similarities that we have as women, the wounded feminine, and the shame that we carry with these gifts that are so natural to us. And yet, somehow, we had been made to feel guilty about them. And so my goal for you and my intention, as I love to set intentions, and I hope that as you guys are listening to this podcast, you are also learning to set intentions for yourself. My intention for you today is that you will know how to figure out your gifts. So we're going to cover that in a little bit. We're going to go into more depth in that in a follow-up podcast. However, I want you to walk away from today's podcast with a knowing of how you can figure out your gifts, what they might be, and then, most importantly, how you stop depriving and restricting yourself from love. First of all, your own, and then the people around you. Because if we're living in this place of feeling guilt or shame or fear or insecurities, it's usually because of feeling we have going on. And I would like to even offer that it likely has something to do with your natural gifts and who you are. But somehow you feel like it's not okay to embody those gifts. It's not okay to just be who you are. So you have to be pretending to be something else. And so we build up this wall to keep everybody else somewhat out because it's really scary if they knew who we really were. If they really knew who we are, what we believe in, what we think about, if we were just ourselves, of course they wouldn't love us. Of course they wouldn't like us. My goal is to share with you how to go from that low energy vibration and that thought and really raise those vibrations into a more confident, vibrant state of knowing with peace and trust and clarity and a willingness to be loved. Because when we can get into that space, are you kidding me? It's amazing. Life just opens up for you. You have the right relationships. You have the right career. You have the right business that you have been dreaming about. Everything just simply unfolds. So many of us really truly are missing out on life. And today, being the 4th of July here, I can think back to when I would go to activities and I would just sit there so insecure and just feel so uncomfortable. Most of the time I would turn to alcohol so that I could feel comfortable, so that I didn't think about the insecurities or the discomfort that I was feeling being around people. When in fact, it was just my empath gift. There was shame and there were stories going on, but I could feel everybody's energy. I didn't quite know how to shift my own so that I didn't have to feel everybody else. That's why I'm so passionate about teaching you guys this stuff and why I work with my clients that I do and create the programs that I do so that we can get you into this higher state of vibration. We're attracting the relationships that you love and lift you up and give you the same understanding and kindness and generosity that you give, so you can receive that as well. It's so important to be in this space to attract what you want versus what you don't want. And how do we do that? That's what we're going to talk about today. I want you to move out of this place of low vibration, low energy, fear, shame. What will they think? I can't say no because then they're going to judge me. What do I do? I want you to move out of that space and into that space of knowing and confidence and strength and security, and where you say, no, I don't want to do that, without explanation. You don't even have to say, I don't want to do that. You just say no. And being okay with the only person's opinion that matters is your own. And I'm going to show you how when you get into that space, that is not a space of ego. No matter what somebody else has told you in your life, that is not a place of ego to want to be comfortable in your own skin and be able to put yourself out there in a way to help other people, to be of service to others. And the only way that you truly can do that is if you're comfortable with you and you've learned how to set boundaries so that you can fill your own cup so you have more to give versus always operating from this place of having nothing to give. I'm going to share a little bit of my own personal story in raising my oldest daughter, Kayla, who is 24, and now the difference of experience of who I am now raising my younger children, which my youngest is now 12, almost 12. But more importantly, how I shifted, because that's what I want for you. I want you to be able to shift. It can be literally an instant that you recognize this. Some takes a little bit more work. Some takes a little bit more time, and that's okay. It's being willing to show up right where you are and being willing to energetically commit to it no matter what. I know that it's so scary to think about like, hey, I'm just going to show up as myself. Even though I have these gifts, I know what I'm capable of, but what if I put myself out there? What is everybody going to say? Or what if I put myself out there? What is my husband going to say? What is my life partner going to say? Are they going to think that who is she to do this? Or if you've always been defined by being one thing, now all of a sudden you're doing something else. There's this fear, there's this vulnerability in that we go, okay, well, what's everybody going to think? Well, what I'd like to offer is that, again, when you're in a place of accepting yourself for who you are and releasing your own self-judgment, it's very interesting then what happens all around you. Because you're no longer going to attract that judgment. You're actually going to attract people that love you for who you are. And the thing is, you've got to be willing to be seen for who you are. So how does that happen? That's the scary part, is to go from, okay, wait, I'm pretending to be this over here. You may not even realize that you're pretending. It's just there's a disconnect. In my clients, I find it in numbing out with food, numbing out with overspending, numbing out with overworking, working these crazy 15-hour days. You're numbing out because there's an easier way to do it that does not take up every waking minute of your day. You don't have to create that kind of atmosphere But what I'd like to offer is it's just another way of numbing out. To not feel who you truly are. There's a sense of vulnerability if you're just sit with who you truly are and show up in the world true to who you are, then that opens you up. And so I would get curious about that. And so I want you to truly understand that I get it. And, sometimes I look at situations and those around me, and I see coaches and I see doctors even, and I see these trainers, and they stand there and they say, oh, well, look, I did this. It was so easy. You should be able to do it too. And I never, ever, ever want to communicate that message to you, because here's the thing. I'm an example of what is possible, but it took me a little bit to get here. It took a lot of hard, scary things, and it did take the coaches and the investments and showing up and learning and growing and committing and setting intentions and stepping out and being afraid and sometimes failing. But that's how I figured it out. That's how I got to this place now, that I can step out and do things and not be so afraid, because I know that I'll figure it out. And I know that the right people will accept me for who I am. And those are the people I want in my life anyway. And I want you to really think about that. If you feel this disconnect and you feel this insecurity and you feel this fear and this feeling like you're not living your life true to yourself, nobody else can truly love you either. And because you're always putting on a mask, you're always putting up the wall, because we don't really want to let anybody close, because we already have so much self-judgment in ourselves and we're afraid of what they're going to think. That's why it's so important to me that I help you master your mindset and your thoughts and your emotions and how you think and feel about things, because that will impact your life directly in the amount of money that you make, in the relationships that you have, and with the weight on your body. That's what I talk about with my weight loss clients. It's the weight that you're carrying is likely not even your own. It's a story that is stored, that you operate from this place, versus reshaping that story. And then you're operating from a completely different, more empowered state. So this is a perfect time. I want to share with you the literal, physical, never mind the emotions, the mindset, and the spiritual part of it, just simply the physical part. I want to share this session that I had yesterday. And I don't share names because I keep my clients' information confidential. So if we're ever in a group or whatnot, that's different. That's a smaller mastermind group. And these are ladies that are the same gifts, the same goals, and we can collectively do something together. We're on the podcasts a little bit more. Everybody gets to hear. So I'm not going to share those names with you. And instead, I'm just going to call them my clients, my amazing, amazing clients that bring so much light into this world, and why I'm so stinking passionate about sharing this information, because I want you to get out of your own way, because that's really what it is. It's about getting you out of your head and mind and the thoughts you have around what's wrong with you. Why do you carry this shame and insecurity? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So moving forward, so yesterday during my client call, I do Zoom sessions. So you can actually I can see the person. Then I give a recording to that person. So because a lot of times when you're in that coaching atmosphere, you have the breakthroughs, but by watching a breakthrough, by watching a replay, or like if you're in a group session and you're watching me coach somebody else, you can still have those breakthroughs because you're in it, you're experiencing it. Again, it's the energy, it's the intent, it's the showing up to do something, that there is a shift. And so we have Zoom calls, we have a recording, and so I can physically see her. No matter where you're at, I can work with you. The beautiful part is that I get to see a literal shift in the way that she's sitting, in the way that her eyes. So just to give you an idea, so she gets on the call and she's afraid, she's fearful, she's insecure. She feels like she has no control. And she believes that if she can just talk to the right person or do the right thing or take a certain pill. Or often I think of my weight loss clients. If we can just find the right, she's not a weight loss client. If she just wants the confidence, she wants to embody her gift. But all my weight loss clients, she is the person who, if I can just find the right plan, if I can just find the right macro count, if I can just find the next weight loss program, that's the mindset. So we're looking outside of ourselves. For my client, she's in this really fearful, deep insecurity place. And so you can imagine, I want you to envision that in your mind, the way that you would sit in that space. You would want to feel like you're hiding because it's not comfortable to be seen. I want you to think about that. A lot of us are going to family functions and barbecues, and I want you to think about that. Are you comfortable being seen? Or do you feel like you need to hide? Do you use the alcohol to hide? Do you use the food to hide? Do you use the introvert that says, I don't want to be around people? Or even the empath gift to say, I don't want to be around people because I don't want to feel that. I want you to really get curious about that and think about your own self as I'm telling you and teaching you about my client yesterday. So she's in this fearful, deep insecurity, just not in a pretty place, not in a really great place to be. And I want you to imagine the shoulders slumped, the posture low when we started, even the change in the voice, to then 40 minutes later during our session, she is literally sitting up straight. Her eyes are twinkling. She's glowing. She has this confidence and clarity to move forward. Could you imagine operating from that place? It's a beautiful place to be because once you've learned what your gifts are and how to use them, you don't have to be afraid. Once you learn that you can make the right decisions and can change the way that you're thinking with just a couple simple strategies, you will constantly be empowered to know exactly what to do at any given moment. In the session replay, you can literally see just this energetic shift. She stood taller, her eyes sparkled, right? She released that feeling like she couldn't do it. And I want you to think about that. Do you have those thoughts? I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I know oftentimes I'm like, I don't want to people today. But when you do that, do you give yourself the space to say, I don't feel like peopling today, and so you don't? Do you give yourself those boundaries? Do you have that set in place because you value yourself enough and you know what you need? I'd really, really encourage you to get curious about these things. Don't bring in the judgment of right and wrong, yes or no, but truly bring in curiosity. Get curious and just notice these things. Notice your body posture. Notice your breathing. Notice the thoughts and your feelings because all of that matters in your energetic shift. This is so very important. Even if things are scary, you can still handle it. I think of myself before I was in this state where I would see people and I'd be like, they have it all together. Nothing bothers them. They have no fear. Their life is perfect or whatnot. And that just wasn't the case because now being in the place where I'm at, I understand that I still have fear, but I take action anyway. I set my intention and I get very mindful about what I want and I create those feelings I want to feel because I know how to embody that. And so then I move out of this place of being afraid and feeling insecure, and I move into this place of embodiment of confidence and trust and inner knowing. Because it's from that place of embodying that trust, embodying that confidence, you can do things that are sometimes scary because you're doing it without fear of what other people think. You might be afraid for your own reasons, but you've let go of this fear of what everybody else thinks, and you move into this state of, okay, I can handle this. It might be scary, but I know I'll figure it out. So how do you get into that place? I promise you this. The most beautiful thing happens when you set an intention. You decide right now, this is what I want. And don't be afraid of wanting what you want. I would like to offer that just might be the wounded feminine that says, how dare you ask for what you want? I'd like to encourage you that, heck yeah, ask for what you want. If you don't ask for what you want, you're never going to get it. So you've got to be able to be in that place where you set the intention. And I'd even like to offer that you've got to know what you want. That's why one of the very first steps I take my clients through is really getting that clarity of purpose in, okay, so you want to know your gifts. Why? And you may not know. And so then we just keep asking those deeper questions to draw that out, to draw what it is you really, truly seek. And 9 times out of 10, what it is we simply want to be accepted for who we are and reach our greatest potential. Because oftentimes we know it that we're not living it. And that doesn't mean you're not successful, right? So my greatest potential as a mother in some circles, so this is where the opinion of others is kind of one of those tricky things, because the opinion of others should never matter, because what is on your heart is your inner wisdom, is your gift asking you to come forward, because you have a purpose, you have a soul's journey, you have a soul's calling, you have a reason to be here that you've been given those gifts to use. So that's why it's so important to not listen so much to what everybody else is saying or thinking, because they don't have your same gifts. They don't have your same purpose for being here. And so I'd like to offer that your greatest potential can be as a mama staying at home with her children and raising them and working on yourself to reach your greatest potential, where you are embodying your gifts and using them to the best of your ability while you're at home, so that you can teach your children that confidence and strength and trust. And we're going to move into some of the things you likely heard when you were a child that creates these feelings of shame and these feelings of insecurities and fear, so that when you do shift yourself, you can give that to your children of confidence, trust, inner knowing. But I'd like to offer, you can't give what you don't have. And so you can be the stay-at-home mama with your babies, or you can be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Reaching your greatest potential has nothing to do with your life's calling as far as finances or situation aligns, because that CEO may not be at his or her greatest potential, because we don't know what's going on in the inside. And I want to offer that your greatest potential is not outside of you. It is inside of you. The outside is just simply a reflection of what's going on inside. So get really curious about this, friends, because this one will blow your mind. Because when you align, when you get into that state, when you get into that place of embodying your greatest gifts and knowing and trusting and the confidence and allowing that inner wisdom to work through you, oh, life becomes so beautiful. If it isn't already beautiful for you, the synchronicities, the magic that appears, the spiritual blessings and the spiritual enlightenment. The interesting part is that once you've gotten into that place of receiving those gifts, more gifts come, because you're in a place, a container that can hold it, because we're not always looking outside of ourselves and letting it go. We're looking at embodying that. We are the container. So going back to setting your intention. What do you want, my friends? What does that look like for you? Not what anybody else wants for you, because people in our lives, well-intending, often will say something and it affects what we think we should do. I want you to think about that word, should. I want you to erase that should out of your vocabulary, because what you should do, who decides what you should do? Who decides what I should do? Oh, well, I should pay my car payment. Well, isn't that my decision? Well, I could pay my car payment or I could not. Maybe I don't want to. Of course, there's consequences. We know this. If we pay the car payment, the bank doesn't come calling and want to take it back. If we don't, then what ends up happening? They start calling, right? But we still get to decide. We get to decide. So I want you to really get curious about this idea that there's right, wrong, yes, no. What about yes and? Yeah, I'll pay my car payment and I want to pay it off. And then I don't have a car payment. So really moving into this space of setting a clear intention. How do you do that? You quiet that darn monkey mind. Quiet that mind and the chatter that's going on inside of it. The one that's thinking about yesterday, the one that's thinking about tomorrow, but really truly getting present in the space where you can listen to your inner wisdom. Making that time to listen for the guidance, to listen for what wants to come forward and be heard, and not being afraid of it when it does, and not trying to push it away that it didn't just actually happen. Many of you that are in the practice of meditation or in that practice of just settling your mind in prayer and journaling, you're very familiar with this. The thoughts that come forward when you've quieted it enough to listen is a beautiful thing. And when that happens, it's not enough to just receive it, hear it, feel it, see it. You've got to take that energetic action and do what has been put on your mind, what has been put on your heart. Right? There's 4 ways we receive messages. We see them, we hear them, we feel them, and we just know them. You're going to receive that information out of those 4 ways. That is how you're going to do that. And when you do, it's not enough. It's kind of like you say, I want to make $100,000 in my business, or I want $50,000 in my bank account in 6 months from now. Okay, and then you've said it, but you haven't actually backed it up with any action to do that. That's not enough. Or the person that says, well, I want to lose 80 pounds. Okay, you want to lose 80 pounds, but what are you backing it up with intention? This is what I'm talking about. Set that intention, know what you want, and then take decisive action in getting there. What I want to assure you of is that you do have a gift. And that gift may even often have been, shame is such an ugly word, but that's kind of what it was when I think back of my own childhood. And this is the tricky part. Most of our experiences with our parents and loved ones, it has been a positive experience that they intended. But we somehow got changed from the time it left their mouth to the time it hit our ears. I mean, we see it even as adults. I mean, I see it with my husband. Sorry, honey. I don't think he listens to it. Sometimes I think he does. So if he does, I love you to pieces. But oftentimes, and you probably experience this in your own relationships, whether it be with your children, whether it be with your partners, you say one thing and they hear a completely different thing. And the way they receive that message is based on what they think about themselves. So just get really curious about that. And we won't go into too many details about that, but that is something that absolutely happens. And so when you think about as a child, what did you hear a lot of? Me, I heard I was too sensitive. I needed thicker skin. Why do I have to take things so personal? Why do these things bother me? I also think about my daughter. I think about my oldest daughter. When I was raising her, I wasn't quite as awakened as I am now. And I look back and let me tell you, there's been a lot of apologizing I needed to do because I wasn't in this same space that I am now. And so I look back and I think of her, and some of the words I would describe her is she was very headstrong, determined, committed, was not afraid to ask for what she wanted, and went after whatever it was she set her mind to. This was who she is. She still is, not even was, is. These are her gifts. These are her strengths. This is what this child has been born to do and use it to make this world a better place. And now she's raising her own daughter, and she will pass on her strengths to her daughter, but her daughter will have her own gifts. I look back when I was raising Kayla, we fought a lot. And mind you, it didn't work on me. That's why when I was talking about reaching your greatest potential as a mother, that is something that if I would have understood what I know now, I would have had boundaries in place. I would have said no. I wouldn't have been as upset because I wouldn't have taken it as an act against me. I was able to, now I can see, okay, she doesn't understand what I understand. She doesn't have the boundaries in place. But instead, what I would do is she would ask me to do something. I would say yes. And then I'd get overwhelmed and cranky. And I had 3 younger children. So then I'd be upset at her that I said yes. But if I would have had those boundaries in place, I could have just said no without guilt. And so often think about that. That happens to us in our relationships as adults. We do something we don't want to do, and then we get angry and upset about doing it instead of holding that space for ourselves and just saying no without explanation and holding those boundaries and not being afraid of what the other people think, because the right people will be in your life, and the ones that are not energetically aligned with you will naturally fall away. So I want you to think about where in your life you may have heard a message from someone you loved. Maybe some were well-intended. Maybe some weren't. I was in an emotionally abusive relationship. In his mind, he probably thought that, I don't know what he thought. I don't even care because he had some issues. That created a vulnerability in me. That created even more insecurity in me. The issue with that is, remember, the energy that we are is what we attract. So if we're insecure, if we're feeling down and low, that's what's coming into our life. That is what you're attracting. So if you're in that place, of course, your relationships are going to mirror that to you. That's why it's so important to you to energetically shift, to get in this state of awareness and this state of confidence and this state of embodiment, so you do not attract those. And so you can leave the crappy relationships that you shouldn't be in, right? Shouldn't. There's that shouldn't. I mean, obviously, should and shouldn't. Well, should you be in it? Shouldn't you be in it? That's your choice. But if you're unhappy, it's either you've got to shift or the relationship you're in needs to shift. And that's a whole nother podcast, friends. So let's get back to this. So somewhere in your life, you were told you were bad, shamed, something was wrong with you for you being the way that you were. This is the message that we took in. So whether you were a child that liked to perform, who liked to be out making people laugh, maybe the teacher in your school said you were a class clown and you shouldn't do that. Or maybe you had siblings and you were super talented at something and your mom or dad or somebody you care about said, hey, tone it down. We don't want to make so-and-so feel bad. Maybe they didn't even say that. Maybe they just said, hey, tone it down. The intention was not to make you feel bad, but now maybe all of a sudden you think, oh, well, I can't stand out. I can't shine because I'm going to make somebody else feel bad for that. Settle down, sit still. Maybe all your energy is distracting to somebody else. So you feel like you've got to restrict yourself rather than being the outgoing, bubbly person that you are. Or maybe you like to win the races, you like to do well on tests, you wanted to be number 1 in class. So here you are, you're this person who likes to achieve, but you were told, why do you have to be a show-off? or don't get too big for your britches. Or as I was building my business, as I was building my life in the way that I wanted to build it. And I am an achiever. I set my mind to do something. And yeah, sometimes I do take on too much. At the time, it feels like too much, but it's not. It's exactly what I need. And yet, that's just who I am. And I'm okay with that. But that's what's allowed me to start my nonprofit animal sanctuary. That's what has allowed me to build an international coaching practice while still being home with my children and homeschooling them. Other people's opinions don't affect me because I know what I do here. Now, if I see something within me that I don't care for, then that's up to me to change it. But I'm not going to look for other people to help me feel okay with what I'm doing. Now, it is important that you do surround yourself with like-minded people so that you're not always feeling like, okay, am I the outcast because I want to succeed, because I want to do this, because I am that achiever and I have these big goals and dreams. You do want to spend your time with people that have those same ideas because together you're inspired and you don't feel like, I don't want to stand out. What is that flower? I think it's a California poppy. That it will only grow as tall as the other flowers that it's around. And so in that same way, I want you to think about yourself. Are you afraid to outshine somebody else? Whether it's in your business or whether it be in your health and wellness. It's the same with my weight loss clients as it is with my business clients. Because if your friends choose to eat foods that are not the healthiest, you're going to want to be a part of that. And so then as you begin to release weight, what ends up happening, they may notice and they may say things and they aren't going to like it because it makes them feel uncomfortable. But it's not about you, but you're going to be thinking, oh, well, I've got to stop because I'm making them uncomfortable because of the story you have within you. Just think about that. Get curious. Don't get judgy about it. Just get curious. Remember, not right and wrong, black and white, yes, no. No, it's curiosity. Sit with it. Think about it. It's important that you notice this. This is why step one in every single digital program, coaching, you name it. It is about that intention. It is about that awareness, because if you don't know where you want to go and give yourself an exact goal, then you're not going to get there because you don't really know where that is, right? You can work with, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds by X date. Hey, I want to make X amount of money by X date. You can work with that. You know what that is. And then you can work backwards. Okay, what do I need to do to get there? But if you just say, oh, well, I want to feel more confident. Okay, that's beautiful. But how are you going to know when you get there? It's important that you are going to know what that feels like when you get there, because then you can create a plan working backwards in what that looks like. And it can be, hey, I want to feel more confident. Okay, but what does having more confidence give you? Is it a closer relationship with your partner? Is it you being able to go date? What is that going to get you? What is something you can actually measure so that you can keep your eye on it, so that you do know what needs to happen between now and then in setting that intention and that awareness? One of the questions I do get asked a lot is, how do I know what my gifts are? So this one being a very big struggle would be with my business clients in, well, how do I know what my niche is? Who do I know I want to work with? How do I know how to use my gifts? Well, what I would encourage you is that what has been your greatest struggle? So my friend that I was speaking with, she was a medium. She's always been in tuned to the energies around her. She would see things and she didn't quite understand. She needed to find that mentor that would help her, that she could fine-tune those things so that it didn't feel so overwhelming, so that she could adjust her energy to be able to handle those things. That, however, growing up was a great struggle for her. My other friend, she spent 10 years 10 years to get her career that then was completely opposite of what her parents had raised her in. And now she's a spiritual counselor and healer, and she was so heavy in the sciences, a professor in the sciences, as were her family. And so she went from that to this, and I'm sure you could imagine you're moving away from your tribe. And in our brains and in our ancestry, that meant death, to move away from what everybody else was accepting of, because then you wouldn't be accepted, right? So this is where moving away from what everybody else thinks and moving into what is calling you forward, and then surrounding yourself with people that are in that same space as you. Like the person that wants to get away from religion but has a deeper relationship and spirituality. That's a very scary thing. In the Bible Belt, my friend built a spiritual church to receive messages from our own inner wisdom and inner knowing. Could you imagine? Like, here's the Bible. We believe this. We believe Jesus Christ, God. And then she went away from that and taught something that, yes, and this. It's a very scary place when you're moving out of that. That's why it is important to surround yourself with a mentor teacher group that is going in that same direction. So, you don't feel so alone as you continue to access this. So I want you to think about, where is your greatest trauma? The animals have always been a part of my life. They were very healing to me. When I was in that state of despair and fear and not knowing who I was, not having any idea who I was, they literally saved my life as a young girl. And often I wonder if they do now, because they ground me, they keep me connected, they help me to see there's more than what we think there is, that these animals are these sentient beings that feel deeply. And oftentimes I feel more connected to than I do people at times. It's probably why I just love horses, and horse people in general usually, not always, but usually have this understanding of communication beyond what we say. So I want you to just really tune into that with yourself. Tune into what has been your greatest struggle, and that's likely your greatest gifts. Something that you're just natural at that maybe you don't even recognize because it's so easy for you. And we think everybody else should experience it the same. Remember that our relationships are a mirror for us. So, not to throw my husband under the bus. If he's still listening, I love you, honey. I do love my husband. He has brought out so much good in me. And it's not always been easy, you guys. I'm a crazy, crazy person. I would yell and scream, and I didn't know. I couldn't handle the goodness of him. And I had all these insecurities that I didn't deserve this, and he had it all together. And who was I? There were a lot of stuff I had to work through. But what I want to tune into for you today is that oftentimes, so my gift is being able to understand things on a much, much deeper level. So I hear something and my brain, or I see something, because I take it all in. I can feel it, right? So I have these empath gifts, this intuitive, that I can just understand things, right? I pick up the energy. I can just feel it. I just know things. Does that mean I have some crazy ego because I acknowledge that? No. Where at one time I may have thought, well, who are you to think that about yourself? Because of the stories that I had been told. But the fact remains, it is who I am and what I do. And so when he is talking to me, I can go from literally in seconds understanding what he is saying. So two things can happen. I can either cut him off because I'm like, okay, I already get it. I don't need to listen. I got it. That would definitely be the ego going, all right, I got this. The second thing would be that I oftentimes will expect him to understand me in that same way. But that's my gift. I can just absorb and know things. I can just receive that information. And so I just get it. So then I think he should be able to do the same thing. And it's only because I recognize it as my gift now that I don't have to get upset because it is easy for me and it's not for him, if that makes sense. So get curious about your relationships. Get curious about your careers. Get curious about what might be going on around you that is leading you down this path. Look for the answers. They are there. The answers are going to come from within, but you're going to look outside yourself to actually see them. That's where the synchronicities come in. And so I want to give you just the quick steps before we finish up today and what I do from taking my beautiful client yesterday where she was so like she needed to hide. And I want you to think about that feeling. Often I call it my cloak of protection, right? When I was 82 pounds heavier, my weight was my cloak. In one way or another, it protected me. I was hiding. In the same way in business, if you are not having the success that you want, you are hiding. In the same way in relationships, if you do not have the love that you want, you are hiding. And so we want to take you from this place. I want to help you get to this place of, I'm not hiding any longer. I'm releasing the shame. I'm releasing the fear. And I'm embodying this state of confidence in who I am and what I'm called here to do. I'm perfectly accepting of my stories. I'm reshaping the way I think about those stories because those stories do not define me. I define me. Yes, was I in a physically and emotionally abusive relationship where I ended up in the hospital when I was 7 months pregnant because he beat me? Yes, I can look at that and say, oh, woe is me. Or I can look at that and go, well, hot darn, look at me now. I was a super strong woman that came out of that situation to create an amazing life with a loving husband and 4 amazing children that I get to wake up to every single day. I get to look at that and I get to decide what my story is going to be. In the same way, so do you. You get to decide. So decide right now. Do you want to remain in that place of being a victim that life happened to you? Or do you want to decide right now, this is my greatest trauma, this is what happened to me, but it is also my greatest gift and what I have to use in my life to unlock my unlimited potential. This is what I want you to see today. So how do you get there? Quickly, I'm going to run through it. Number 1, you've got to get clear about what it is you want. What do you want? Get that piece as clear as you can in your mind's eye. Write it out on a journal. Do a goal poster. Get super clear about what that looks like for you. Every single detail, I want you to see it. I want you to feel it. I want you to know it. I want you to hear it. I want you to smell it. I want every single detail for you to absorb into your body. The second part is set the intention to have it and by when. Create that container for you to receive it. And you're going to believe it. Number 3, what are your blocks? Get really curious about it. Look at your life. Why don't you have it now? Why isn't that in your space right now? And I don't want to be like, why can't I have this? Why am I not having this? No, I just want you to get curious, not the judgment, release right, wrong, yes, no, black, white. Curiosity about, what might be getting in my way? I'll give you a hint. It's going to be a story within you, a belief, a paradigm that's going on within you that says, if I get that, it's going to make somebody else feel bad. If I get that, it means somebody else can't win. If I win, it means they can't win. If I have success, it means I'm taking something from somebody else. Get curious about it. It's there, friends. Number 4, tune in to your inner wisdom. My friends, this is so important. Make time to quiet your mind, settle in, slow down. Where is that space for you? Maybe you cannot go to the beach every day. Maybe you cannot go into the mountains every day. So then create that sanctuary within your home that you can go to. And it doesn't have to be an altar or a church building. It can be just a space within your home that you prepare to receive that message. Often in prayer, we kneel and we fold our arms or we hold our hands. It's to prepare us to receive. It's to get us into a state of being willing to receive. So where is that for you within your home? Practice mindfulness, practice meditation. It is not easy at first. At first, it doesn't feel comfortable. But the more you do it, the more it becomes comfortable. Tune in to your intuition. Listen to your messengers, your spirit guides, your angels, your inner wisdom, the Holy Spirit. It has many, many, many different words and different names, but you have access to something greater than yourself that is guiding you. And so I would like to encourage you to not miss out on that. It's available for you, but the only way that you receive it is if you slow down and you're willing to listen. However that is that you receive those messages, whether it's by knowing, feeling, seeing, or hearing. The messages are there for you. You just need to do your part, and that is setting that intention to receive. And number 5, when you receive, your first instinct may be to push it away because we don't quite know what that feels like yet. We don't quite know because we haven't fully tuned into our gifts as a woman. But this is something available to everybody to receive this message. It doesn't mean you have to be a certain member of a certain church or have a certain belief. This is available to every single soul on this planet. And you are supported. You are so loved and so supported. And you have this calling. You have this gift that is to be used to contribute, to give light and love. And I want you to imagine for just one moment. Let's imagine, let's go to the ocean. We're in this, and you can breathe underwater. And we're in this ocean and we're in the dark abyss, right? The darkest part of the ocean. And then one of us has a light. Let's say there's 100, but there's actually millions. But we're going to start with 100. So one person has a light, and then the other person discovers they have a light. So then they shine their light, and then the next person shines their light. What happens? All of a sudden, are we in the darkness anymore? We're not. We are in light. Beautiful, beautiful, glowing, loving, goodness, light. Friends, we need your light. We need you shining as bright as you can be. I personally have a personal stake in this. I have a grandbaby now. I want her world to be full of love and light and kindness and compassion and understanding. That's what I want this child surrounded with. And it doesn't have to be just for our family. There are many, many reasons. But you have that light within you. And I hope and pray that you will shine as bright as you can. That you will take these 5 steps in what I call awaken. This is Empath Woman Awaken for a reason. This is your gift. This is your purpose. This is your soul's journey. I believe in you. So get out there and shine that light. And until next time, friends, have an amazing day. This is Empath Woman Awaken. Hey there again, friend. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode of Empath Woman Awakened. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your aha moments and what really encouraged you to stop hiding and really impacted your life or that of your child's and to where you felt more empowered to embody these gifts and truly share what's on your heart and what's on your mind, and to live just an authentic, amazing life, reaching your greatest potential. If you could leave that review over in iTunes, that would be amazing. And I also want to remind you that over on my website, missjenlewis.com/empath, I have a very special gift for you. It is a top 10 checklist. It's the top strategies that I use on myself, on my clients, and even on my children to really help them thrive in what sometimes feels like an overwhelming world, right? We're these highly sensitive beings. Our little children are these highly sensitive beings. We have big goals. We have big dreams. And maybe we feel stuck, or we just feel restricted by these negative energies that hold us back. And if you go over there and download that, and it's free, there's no upsell or none of that crazy stuff. It's just going to be a way to really just give you a checklist and how you can live your most amazing life using these gifts and unlocking your greatest potential to show up for your highest good. So go on over there, missjenlewis.com/empath. And until next time, y'all have an amazing day.